One organization that investigates cases like the one Scott just told you about is the Idaho Human Rights Commission. But now, after decades of service, the commission could lose all its state funding. The announcement from Governor Otter has forced a bipartisan effort to appeal his proposal. News Channel 7's Ysabel Bilbao is on the Capitol Watch and joins us from the newsroom with more.
A third of the Idaho Human Rights Commission funding comes from the federal government, two-thirds from the state government. The governor proposed that money be phased out over time, but now a group of former lawmakers, entrepreneurs, and educators are hoping legislators will reject that idea.
There's no need for me today to recount our economic situation.
Budget cuts were the theme of Governor Butch Otter's State of the State, cuts across the board, and that included phasing money out of some agencies. One of those, the Idaho Human Rights Commission.
I thought, what have they been smoking? You know, that's just not where to go.
Passionate about the commission, former Democratic Governor Cecil Andrus organized a bipartisan effort to appeal the proposal. Former Republican Attorney General David Leroy jumped on board.
I'm very empathetic with the governor's situation, and also that of the Joint Finance Committee and the legislature. We have to find the money, and a fair way to do that is to trim everybody. But unfortunately, in the case of the Human Rights Commission, we have reached the bone. There is no more fat to trim.
The Human Rights Commission receives less than $600,000 from the general fund annually. The proposed phase-out would cut 25% of its budget each year for the next 4 years.
A 25% cut over the next 4 years for the Human Rights Commission is effectively the closure of the commission, because it now receives 2/3 of its funding from the state, 1/3 from the federal government, and absolutely no money from private or outside sources.
The commission is used to enforce discrimination laws and cannot accept outside donations or user fees. But supporters say the possibility of a closure is an even bigger conflict for the state.
Oh, I think it would have a tragic impact upon it, because then companies would say, well, hey, we don't want to get into a state where we're going to have litigation and discrimination suits and everything else. The Human Rights Commission tells a story.
A story that started 40 years ago, and those who support the commission's work say it changed the face of business, individual rights, and the negative stigma the state faced not long ago.
This small amount of money associated with human rights is also a big symbolic issue.
To eliminate it, I can just hear people saying, why, those right-wing crazies out there in Idaho have gone back in time and they have eliminated human rights. Discrimination and bigotry will run free. That's not what we're about.
The Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee will be meeting tomorrow morning to discuss the Human Rights Commission budget. We have a copy of the appeal letter and its supporters. Just go to ktvb.com. You can find that there. Dee.
All right. Thanks, Ysabel. On Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Governor Otter was questioned about his request to phase out the funding of the Human Rights Commission and other state-funded agencies.